another story for another day. So listen to my tale, for it is a very interesting one. There once lived a samurai who loved his wife very dearly. But one day she got very sick, and so the samurai grieved for many, many days. And on her deathbed, the samurai promised the wife, "I shall never marry again." The wife answered, "I wouldn't have asked for this, but now that I am certain you will never marry again, may you please bury me in the garden, under the cherry blossom tree, so I can see the birds and hear your voice once in a while." And so it was. The wife had died and was buried like her wishes in the garden. And so a year passed, with the samurai keeping true to his promise. But the pressure from his family he caved under, for their pressure was, "You must marry again, for you are an only son. And you must continue our family line." And so, under the pressure, he caved and married again a younger woman. To his surprise, he fell in love again. And so, the first few months, the couple spent merrily and happily together, and their life was almost perfect. Well, the perfect life is never to be. And so, it was that the lord of the samurai called upon him and said, "I will need you in my castle for the next 3 nights. If you shall not comply, your land will return to me." And so it was that the samurai had to return back to his lord. And in those nights, the woman had to sleep in the house alone. So it was. One night, she slept alone, and outside from the garden she heard a strange sound. For now I must reveal to you a detail about the previous wife. She requested to be buried with a bell in her grave. And it is such bell that the woman heard outside of the house. She thought to herself, "How strange! Who could it be to ring a bell at such an hour?" But then, even more terrified, she heard the sound that was coming from outside the house, was not coming from the front, but instead from the back, where only the garden was. Very peculiar. But she thought nothing of it and went back to sleep. But the sound got louder and louder, until she could no longer ignore it. And then the door to the garden opened, and to her revealed herself the ghost of the previous woman, dressed completely white. And in the candlelight, the new wife could tell that this ghost had a head with no eyes and no tongue, and a bell in one hand. And there, terrified, the wife said, but could not move, for the woman stood there with her bell and said, "You shall leave from my property. This is my house. You will leave tomorrow, saying to your husband nothing of your departure. And if you tell him that it was me who gave you this order, I shall rip you to shreds." The woman, of course shocked, could not react, for she was frozen in her bed, not knowing what to do next. And so, the next morning came, and of course she wanted to, and she said to her husband she would want to go. Well, the husband, confused of this request, asked her why. She would not answer to him strictly or directly. She said, "Oh, just a feeling. It is my hunch." But the husband would not believe, and the samurai would not let her go unless she stated him the reason. To that she caved. Oh fine, I tell you. It is in the night. A ghostly woman approached me with a bell and said I shall go at once and leave this house. Unless, and if I tell you, she shall rip me to shreds. The samurai laughed this off and said, "Oh, it was nothing but a bad dream. I shall leave you 2 of my servants to help you rest easy at night." And so it was. The next evening she slept in her bed with 2 servants playing Go in the corner. But as the night crawls on, the sound of a bell awakened her once again. She was terrified, but this time she could move, and sprung up and ran to the servants and, Please, save me. But the servants were stuck playing Go, frozen with their eyes wide open, but not being able to only react. It appeared that time had completely stopped. And then the sliding door opened. Well, the next morning the samurai returned back to his manor from the castle, horrified to find the body of his wife, decapitated, laying in her room. He woke the 2 servants sleeping at the Go table and said, "What have you done? Have you not listened to my commands?" Shocked, the servants sprung up and inspected the corpse, for there was a trail of blood leading from the decapitated head of the wife outside to the garden. And there it was, when they followed the trail to the grave. The previous wife of the samurai hovered there, and with nothing but the bell in one hand and the head of the previous wife, of the new wife in the new hand. The servant rushed to her and screamed and slashed the ghost. But it was too late. The ghost disappeared into nothing but rags and bones, and they dropped the bell and the head. Only the hand remained of the ghost, still clenching to the head of the old wife. And the new wife, sorry. What do you make of this story, eh? It is far scarier, in my opinion, than the last one. Well, it's almost late at night, and the stars are out bright. You wouldn't want the woman to have a grudge against you. So run back to your wife before you find her decapitated too. I will continue on, for maybe another soul will want to hear the story. Good night! Oyasumi nasai!